Hello again, guys. How we doing? Welcome to the Curry and Rice Show. I am your co-host, CW. I'll be doing a single show tonight. My co-host Tom won't be joining us. He's busy. So, yeah, you are stuck with me tonight. Unfortunately, if you do not like this voice of mine. But, if you don't like it, plenty of other podcasts you can go on to, I guess, right? Your choice, my choice, whatever, right? Yeah, so we got quite a bit of stuff to cover today, and it might be rather weird considering I am doing this on my own. I'm not really gonna have a lot to bounce off of, if you know what I mean. It really helps when you have a co-host to bounce back and forth from. But you know what? Gonna give it a try. After all, I'm still new to podcasting. Tom's still new to podcasting, and you keep learning as you go along. I'll just be honest with you guys. When I had the idea of starting a podcast, I did not realize how difficult it was going to be. It is a much more complex process than it looks. I literally just figured, right, when I first started, I'll just get a microphone, I'll plug it into the computer, download some editing software, record it for goodness knows how long, go on to Discord, Skype, record it through that way with my co-host, and upload it to YouTube, whatever. And I figured, that'll be it. Shouldn't be any more complex than that, right? No, you just realize there's a lot more that goes into it as time goes on. Trying to find a decent editing platform, quality of audio, having to learn if you happen to get bad audio, for example, learning how to fix it, how to edit it, so you end up having to learn editing skills right on the spot. It's a lot more complex than it looks. And I figured, and I'm doing it right, and I'm doing it right now. I'm not going. It just isn't as smooth as you think it's gonna be when you first start, clearly. And I like to think that me and Tom will improve as we go along, because obviously we are still new to this. But yeah, you can only get better, and me and Tom, we really do enjoy what we're doing right now. We don't feel under pressure. We're still learning, and give us more time, and I really do think that we will be able to do some really good stuff eventually. It's just trial and error until you learn how to get it down. That's pretty much it, I think. And yeah, because it comes down to doing what you really, really enjoy. And I've wanted to start a podcast for quite a while now, actually, but I've had to put it off for this reason or that reason. Just trying to find a co-host, and am I really gonna commit to this long term? I think I'm gonna commit to this long term. I don't see any reason why I don't. I like the subjects that me and Tom have talked about so far, and it's just something that I enjoy, and yeah, I'm just gonna keep at it, pretty much. Obviously, it's a really weird time in TV at the moment. I mean, that's a good thing after all. We've got some really good shows out recently. Obviously, we've got The Witcher. We got that new sex education show. And of course, we've got the upcoming Clone Wars, which looks effing fantastic. Like, I am really, really looking forward to that. Because, obviously, being the massive Star Wars guy that I am, it's pretty much a dream come true. Yeah, so my thoughts on sex education, first of all. I've seen a lot of people talking about it, especially people my age. I'm around 20. And yeah, I saw the first episode a few nights ago. Yeah, just watched the full first episode. And yeah, I liked it. It's pretty entertaining show, really decently written. Seems like it's going to start addressing some really, really vital issues as we go along. Yeah, I really did like it. Yeah, so I suppose there isn't really much that I can talk about just from the first episode. I do get a slight Skins vibe with this, which I really enjoy Skins, to be honest. Obviously, we're not going to talk about the third generation by any stretch of the means, but yeah. I've read a few, seen a few headlines. A few headlines saying that sex education is what Skins was meant to be, or at least does a better, more realistic, mature job of portraying what being a young person in the UK is. Yeah, I guess there would be a point to that, but I'd reserve judgment to get it. I would reserve judgment until obviously I've watched the rest of the series up till whatever point it's at now. So yeah, great show. Looks like it's got a lot of potential, and I look forward to it. Witcher. Again, another good show. I'm not really sure why people feel the need to compare it with Game of Thrones, to be honest. I mean, yeah, I will. Well, actually, I do. I mean, they seem quite similar franchises on the surface, quite obviously. And being a massive Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire fan myself, it's really good to have something else you can latch onto. And funnily enough, that actually goes into what we'll discuss later. Probably end up talking about the dreaded Winds of Winter update. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll get on to that later, and we'll talk about rumors and conjecture about the books, potentially. And yeah. But yeah, Witcher, yeah, good show, really good acting, great effects, good sword fighting. I would say that it's definitely one of those shows where it helps if you understand the source material. It's clearly a really well imagined world, but it just seems that sometimes the show expects you to know what's going on. You know, this world, it expects you to know exactly what this world's about. Which, yeah, I mean, I guess you want to appeal to your core fan base because, I mean, I understand that Witcher is a novel series first, but it's obviously still well known as a video game series as well. I haven't really played the video games ever, so again, we'll stay away from that area. Yeah, so I guess in theory that would come down because I'm not sure. Could you really put it more down as a book series or in the video game category? I mean, obviously there are causes for both sides here. but I don't know, because I suppose that you want to make a franchise that you're not sure can succeed, because obviously with the video game, attachment to it, you want to make sure that even if it's not as popular as you want it to be, you can at least establish like a core audience. So I would assume that is the reason for the um, for the for the fact that that it kind of expects you to know about the world. So yeah, yeah, that is something that I really I've taken away from it so far. Uh, I really want to start reading the book soon. One of my friends, he's funnily enough just done the process of finishing off reading the first Witcher book, and in exchange, I'm gonna end up letting him have a lend of my a Game of Thrones and a Clash of Kings books. Yeah, because this really does seem like a really, really well done book series, and as Winds of Winter guy, Song of Ice and Fire guy, I really am. It really can be hard to find something that can fill the void. So yeah, who knows? Witcher could potentially rival A Song of Ice and Fire if I gave it a chance, which I'm more than willing to do, 100% too. Uh, yeah. So yeah, good series so far. Would help if they would explain the world a bit more, and just made certain aspects easier to digest for a casual viewer like me and others. But overall, really good show, and it definitely gives the vibe of a show that is just going to improve a lot more as time goes on. Which, funnily enough, I'm talking about the Clone Wars TV show now. Um, I remember back in 2008, when I went with my uncle and we actually went to see the original Clone Wars movie. And let's be honest, that movie was horrible. I mean, in hindsight, yeah, as a kid, I enjoyed it because, what kid really won't enjoy Star Wars? But yeah, that was not a good start. And when it came out as a TV show, I really, to be honest, wasn't into it at first. It just didn't really interest me. I mean, it just didn't really appeal to me, and I would imagine that the fan base at the time probably wasn't into it either. I mean, we've seen the we've seen the potential of the Star Wars fan base, most definitely. But yeah, I think Clone Wars was one of those shows that it really, really took some time to find its identity. And that's one thing which I praise Dave Filoni. Oh, mind block. I'll just make sure I'm not making it easy to myself here. Nope, I was right. Absolutely, Dave Filoni. Yeah, Dave Filoni. I might have already said this before, but I like to call this guy, Dave Filoni, George Lucas's fireman. What I mean by that is no disrespect to George Lucas. When George has a vision, it can produce really, really good stuff. It can produce really good stuff. But the problem is he tends to half bake things. He tends to make stuff. He tends to change stuff, which as a fan you'll always this is like, you know what? This seems to be the model that always seems to happen. George Lucas or a new Star Wars film will introduce something that the fandom instantly rejects. They will dislike it, they will hate it, they may occasionally introduce a petition to make it non-canon. Um, yeah, they may try that, and you'll think, is this ever going to be something that will ever be accepted by the fandom? And it seems like it won't be. But then Dave Filoni and others like him come along, and they will take that thing that the fandom hate, and they will build on it, and they will give it depth, and before you know it, that thing has become something that the fandom cannot perceive Star Wars without. Take a look at Ahsoka Tano, for example. I looked back, I went through some old archive type of forums and, things of that nature, and I looked at how the character was perceived as soon as the first movie came out and the early series. Ahsoka Tano was not popular by any means necessary. And yeah, and it was pretty easy to see why. Young, bratty, annoying, impulsive. Yeah, people did not like that character whatsoever. And it seemed, were they really gonna be able to do something with this character? Lo and behold, Dave Filoni gets his hands on her, and that sounded pretty weird, but we're just gonna ignore that. He has her for the entire show run. They work on her. They give some good story. They give some good stories. They give us some really good character development. We watch her grow, and and right now, Ahsoka seems like she's one of the most popular characters in the actual franchise itself. That's what I mean. This guy is George Lucas's fireman, and I think that Dave Filoni really is one of the key masterminds of helping the Star Wars franchise build to what it is now. So, you can't give that guy enough credit for what he's done. And yeah, and I'm really looking forward to the show. Saw the trailer. Looks fantastic. That animation style looks gorgeous. And there's so much I'm looking forward to. Darth Maul has his double-edged lightsaber back. Siege of Mandalore. The Bad Batch looks fantastic. I wonder, it looks like we'll probably end up going to see a Clone Wars version of Order 66, which sounds like it's going to be really, really interesting. I do wonder, and I saw somebody say, and I was thinking this to myself, are we actually going to see Order 66 through the clone's perspective? Because that would actually be something that I would really enjoy. That would really, really be effective at this point. Because this, I think I've said this before, and I'm sorry if I'm just repeating myself. I might be repeating myself every episode. I'm going to try not to, but I just thought it was a shame, and going back to George Lucas's half-baked way of doing things, he has a vision, but he just doesn't execute it. He doesn't focus on the minor details. I think the prequels would have been helped big time if it had been more along the lines of a Harry Potter style structure. You have 7 movies, for example. You would literally build an entire, not even 3-part movie franchise just based on the Clone Wars alone. And think about it, Anakin goes in as still as a naive Padawan, and by the time he comes out of it, he's become a hardened, disillusioned warrior with democracy. I just thought that even though we did get quite a lot of good stuff from the comics and the video games and so on, I just thought that it is a big shame that we won't be able to see that in live action. Because the Clone Wars are literally meant to be one of the things that made the turn Anakin Skywalker into Darth Vader. And the fact that we literally see it just as it's about to start, then just as it's about to end, really, really was a letdown for me. And to a lot of other people, I'd imagine. So, the fact that we see it now in animated form is, I wouldn't say bittersweet, but it's just, you see all these characters, you see this character development, and it's just, you're like, oh man, I wish we could have just seen this in live action. That would have been so fantastic, but, things happen as they are, and we just gotta take what we have now. And Clone Wars is looking good, and I will make sure that I will see it some way or another. Shush, shush. Nice tap. And going back to striving to improve a minute, I recently had I'd like to say debate, but it's not really a debate. It wasn't really a debate, to be honest. But Game of Thrones, look, I get it. There has been so much that has been said about Game of Thrones. People probably want to murder each other, just whoever is still talking about it at this point, but I've got to get it in at some point, because I'm a massive, massive Game of Thrones / A Song of Ice and Fire fan. I love the books, and I love the show too. I really, really do. Which is why I just still feel as passionate as I do now, even though it's finished. Because people, like, what is the point of... I read an article recently. Yara Greyjoy's actress. In fact, you know what? I'm actually going to get this up now. Let me just type this in. Yara Greyjoy. Because I know it was here somewhere. Gemma Whelan. Yeah, never mind everyone, hang on. We're gonna sort this out in a minute. Gemma Whelan. Yeah, so alright, so basically Gemma Whelan, who played Yara in the show, she basically said that she could not believe that fans were upset about the ending. She thought it was, in her own words, brilliant. And it upset her about the reaction from fans. Now, with the greatest respect to her, that's not good enough. If something is not good enough, it does not live up to your standards that you have come to expect, which they have set themselves, you have the right to let them know about it. That last season, you just can't stress that for enough. That show was a decade old, yet in five episodes, it undid everything. You know what? It actually deserves some credit for that. How is it possible to take an established, a brilliantly made show, and within 5 episodes, within a short span, you systematically dismantle everything about it? You subvert, in the worst way possible, everything. Like, how do you do that? That in itself seems like quite a talented thing to do. So, with the greatest respect to her, no. I don't like this thing with the Game of Thrones cast. You know, you apologize, you got to apologize, and you got to apologize to them for making them feel bad, and you got HBO and dumbass and dickhead making these documentaries about how we all enjoyed so much, we all enjoyed working on this so much, this means a lot to us. Look, this is not against the cast or crew themselves, although it is against those two fucking donuts. It's the fact that you decided, dumbass and dickhead, because I don't want to say their names, the fact that you just threw away all that progress that you yourselves have made, that all those hundreds of actors and crew have made. You just decided, like that, we just want to move on. We just want to move on and do something else. Well, if you weren't feeling that motivated, maybe you should have handed it over to somebody who was. All right, maybe that would have been terrible. Maybe it would have made for an even worse decision. But at least it helps to know that the people behind this are actually giving a shit. Because going back, watching that, and realizing the whole time the producers were not motivated and just wanted to get it over with, it's not helping anything. So, yeah. Again, this whole thing that somehow the fans are ungrateful, that, this is how it was always meant to be. No, that's fucking revisionist nonsense. Alright? Absolute rubbish. Well, I mean, I could be swearing my ass off here, but you know what? We're still on YouTube at the moment, so I think it's best not to push the boundaries this early. Yeah, just the fact that, the cast, crew, directors, they're all like, we had such a good time, you got to apologize to the actors and actresses and crew for making them feel bad. No, fuck that. It sucked. It was awful. And it subsequently ruined what should have been one of the defining things of the last fucking decade. That thing was on for a decade. It defined people, alright? It was a cultural, it was a pop cultural iconic event. It could have been in the same realm of Star Wars, alright? And I don't care what people say, it could have been. It had the potential to be that. But no. Now all the people are going to remember, they're not going to remember anymore the brilliant first seasons, the dialogue, the acting, the battle scenes, the world building. They're just going to remember that last fucking season, which killed it all. Alright? People have the right to be fucking mad at that. And look, I defended D&D on quite a few things to a number of fans, and I still will. You can't move on. You can't keep building on based on sources that don't exist. Alright? George R.R. Martin is my favourite author at the moment, but I feel that on some level he does need to take a share of the blame. Alright? It's not as if those two could have just waited and waited and waited until George finally got the film finished. That's just not how it works. Alright? Dance of Dragons was released in 2011. So that means, and the last season was last year. So, George, you seem like a great guy. Excellent author. But dude, you literally had 9-10 years. 9-10 years. And I get Winds of Winter is one tricky book to finish off at this point. I really do understand. I can only imagine the pressure that you feel under. I can I can imagine the pressure he feels under. Alright, let's just put this in perspective here. George R.R. Martin has written himself into a corner. Okay, for those of you who don't understand what I mean, I'll try and explain as best as I can. So, Feast for Crows has one batch of characters that it focuses on. Alright, that's happening at the same time as the other batch of characters, which are then focused on in turn in Dance of Dragons. So that's, I don't know how many characters it is in my head, but believe me, it's quite a lot of characters. And for show viewers only, there were a lot of characters that were cut from the books. A lot of very vital characters, I'll just say that too. So, given that fact, George has booked himself into a corner where he now needs to tackle all of these storylines together in one book. So you've got to write this in a way that can encompass. Alright, this is just off the top of my head. I'm probably going to get half of this wrong. Brienne, Stannis, Arianne Martell, Arya, Sansa Stark, Davos, Rickon, Dany and her crew, another mystery character who is very, very important, but I probably can't really mention him without dropping any spoilers. Those are just the main characters themselves, and imagine every single side character that also has their side story. Yeah, it's not a very, very desirable position, especially when people have the expectations that they have. Yeah, I really, really, really do pity George in a way. But again, that was his choice. He probably didn't understand that what he was going to have to add on. He didn't understand what it would actually mean. He didn't realize that, shit, I'm not going to get this in on time. But again, I think it just goes to the fact that everybody was at fault here. D&D, George, the executives. I'm just thinking in hindsight here, and it's kind of an anomaly here because because I watched the show first and then I read the book and then I read the books later on. So the thing is, right, that as a book reader now, I kind of have come to the private conclusion that the show, maybe it was best that it was not made until every book was finished. Now that's very funny because other than the fact that we miss out on what was for the most part, for I'd say 95% of the time, a very, 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 very good show, it means that it's unlikely, because I'll admit, I'm not the biggest reader guy. It means that I potentially miss out and never really read A Song of Ice and Fire as I do now. So it's very interesting from that way. You've got to think of it from two perspectives. And yeah, because what the show ended up doing was essentially putting what was already thousands and thousands of pounds of pressure on George and adding 1,000,000 tons of pressure onto George's shoulders to not just get Winds of Winter done, but to get A Dream of Spring. And he's even said that it might not even end there. He might need another book after this. And considering the fact that he also has other projects that he focuses on, the Fire and Blood series, a few other book series that he works on, some other shows and movies that he's been adapting to TV and film. All in all, this man put way too much pressure on himself. And yeah, and it's just a shame. It really is a shame. But at the same time, it's good and bad from everything, like I just explained. You know, without the show, without the ill-conceived show, I don't end up getting into the franchise in the first place. So, you know, it's a mystery. It really, really is a mystery. What else we got to talk about? Yep. Conor McGregor. Now, I'm not a massive sports guy, but I do love the UFC. I don't watch it all the time, but hey, I'm a fan. Trust me. Now, I guess that there would be MMA purists out there who would say that I'm just some fucking casual fan who's only interested in for the big names. Well, you know what? If they draw money in, who cares, right? If they draw attraction, how does that hurt? I mean, come on, really? I love these guys. I really love the sport. And I really do. And I watched the fight after it had come out, and Conor McGregor, he is looking good. Which is weird that I say that because I'm not a Conor McGregor fan. I don't like Conor McGregor. I don't like him as a person. I thought that he was something that was detrimental to the mixed martial arts business. You know, his character has been very, very questionable in light of the various scandals that have gone on. But you know what? We're all human. None of us are at the same time in the position that he has been in throughout these last couple of years. And yeah, I've been following him. I've been following him here and there. I watched that interview that he had before the fight with that one guy. I forgot his name, but he's a really good interviewer. He looked good. He really did look good prior to this fight. He looked calm. He looked serene. He looked very mentally well balanced, more than we saw in his previous run. I think time away, and I think, you know, having time to reinvigorate himself has really done him a ton of good. A real ton of good. You can just tell he seems more relaxed. He just seems like he realizes what he's got to do. And so you can't hate the guy for that necessarily. You can't hate, you can't hate the guy for that at all. Alright, it's just, even if you're not a fan, you can't dislike the guy for looking well. You know what I mean? He just looks like he's good. He looks like he's in a good place, and I can't dislike him for that. But it did make me wonder. He was going on to this fight with Donald Cerrone, with quite a lot of pressure on his shoulders. A loss to Cowboy would not have been good, especially in light of this Khabib business, which I'll move on to in a bit. I watched the fight. Wow, that shoulder fucking business looked like it hurt. I don't think I've really seen that many fighters who would fucking use their shoulder like that, but wow. That looked good. And Conor throughout it, he looked in business. He looked like he was there to establish himself. You didn't see any showboating, none of that. You could tell that he realized what he had to do. He realized he was there to make a statement. So, yeah, the crowd, wow, you can tell the crowd missed that guy. Crowd was into him. He comes out, you just see the reaction to him. Say what you want about him, but that man draws emotions. He draws people in. And that's what you need in sport, alright? Would boxing have been as popular as it ever became without Sugar Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, all these type of guys? You need big names to draw in sport, alright? That's not me being some pseudo-expert. I'm just saying, from my perspective, you need big names if you're ever gonna establish your sport. Yeah, so I watched the after fight press conference after that, It was pretty much what you'd expect. Conor looked in good spirits again. Now that I say spirits, that would make some people think of Prop 12. Never drunk the stuff myself. Don't really ever plan to. Not a big spirits guy, to be honest. But yeah, he. And I was just looking for how he'd address the Khabib situation. Obviously, Khabib himself may have stated himself publicly that he has no interest in a rematch, as to be expected. And there is some credence to the idea that Khabib is not that interested in a fight. There are some projections that people are making that this fight with Tony Ferguson in April might be his last, because from all accounts, it might be this year or it might be the year after that Khabib's looking to retire from the sport. And you can't really blame the guy. I mean, if you want to retire in the best way possible, you retire undefeated. I mean, the guy, and Khabib, he literally doesn't have any. He's made his money. The guy's a devout Muslim. Therefore, he's not a big spender. He's not gonna Floyd Mayweather his way through whatever money he's made. Guy seems like a very smart guy. Seems like a responsible man. I'd imagine he's probably built up quite an allowance that he can dip into for the rest of his life. He's probably made enough money to set himself up and his kids. It just seems like Khabib doesn't really have that much interest in fighting anymore. Like I said, can't blame him. So, yeah. But this is the fight that people want to see. So, could it be Conor and Khabib in Russia? What I found interesting was apparently Dana's not into it. Or somebody wasn't into it, according to Conor. Which I found really interesting. I mean, really? I mean, this is the fight that people want to see. I want to see. I mean, other than Khabib and Tony Ferguson, I'm not really sure what other fight is really going to draw this year. I mean, obviously, I may not be paying that much attention, so I may be ignoring certain names here. I mean, obviously, we do have George Masvidal, which that would be the second fight that I would imagine could draw big. If it doesn't turn out to be Conor and Khabib, would probably be Conor McGregor and George Masvidal. Which again, I love George Masvidal. Seems like a really good guy, great fighter, and yeah, I would not have any issue with that whatsoever. But I just think there's much more in it for Conor McGregor and Khabib rematch. No issue on Conor's part whatsoever. It comes down to Khabib at his camp. So I guess that's $1 million question at the moment. Will we get that rematch? Personally, I think we are. And I just can't explain it, but it just seems that it may come to a point where Khabib can't afford to turn it down. Like, could he live with himself if somehow he ended up retiring or getting to that point, and you have Conor and other people always calling him a guy who ducked the fight throughout the rest of his life? I mean, granted, there's a possibility that Khabib just wouldn't care. Maybe be content to fucking go back to Dagestan in the mountains and read the Quran all his life. Nothing wrong with that. But could he, though? Could it get to him? Could he want that one last payday? That one last guaranteed payday? I think that's something to keep in mind. Because I don't think it's really worth ever saying no in professional sports, especially the fight game. Because money, it seems, always talks in that game. Which, that's just the way things are. Do we have anything else to talk about now? I think that pretty much might wrap everything up. Let me just think a sec. Oh yeah. One last thing. The Obi-Wan series. The Obi-Wan series that's come into Disney Plus that Ewan McGregor is attached to. There's been some news recently that apparently the show might be delayed. So I just want to say, for the record, there is nothing to panic about. Alright? Ewan McGregor has come out himself, and he has just said that they're just delaying it by a few months to rework the script. Okay, they've just come out of making Rise of Skywalker, might have some of the projects on the table. So, they're just going to be reworking, retooling the script a little. No reason to panic. It's not been cancelled. It's not nothing bad's going on. Nothing to overreact about. It's just some retooling. Man has said so himself. Anything else? Yeah, that might just be the wrap up. So, I don't know how I did on my first try at solo podcasting. I don't know. I felt I did pretty good considering the circumstances. And yeah, I hope that I can carry on just learning generally how to improve the way we do things. And yeah, I guess that's just a wrap up, guys. Next episode should come out about next week, and I will have this one, as always, up as soon as possible. I just want to give a couple of shout outs too. Check out Props, fantastic guy, helped us out again with the artwork, really good artist and everything. Jacob Stone, another great YouTuber, check him out. I just also want to recommend too another YouTube channel, A Song of Ice and Fire related. Just check out Order of the Green Hand. Fantastic analysis of the books if you're into that. These two are brilliant at what they do. Just give them a check out, give them a shout out, and yeah, just give these guys a chance. You will learn so much. You will learn so much about the lore. Really good if you maybe, I don't know, studying English, for example, and you want to learn some basic dissection skills of literature and things of that nature. So yeah, Order of the Green Hand. Check them out. Okay, guys, so that is a wrap up today, and I will see you guys next time, okay? Bye-bye.